Okay, lesson 66. So this is how I started my videos, in this chair with Justine sleeping and a quiet voice. But we're at lesson 66, and I'm fresh off my practice period. And today's lesson, well, it's me doing half a lesson. Anyway, I'm going to work on this lesson from now and part of tomorrow. So my happiness and my function are one, and 10 to 15 minute practice period to consider the three thoughts. God gives me only happiness. He has given my function to me. Therefore, my function must be happiness. So this lesson is interesting because it's so much about for us to go into our mind and break up false agreements, and maybe anywhere that we are like kidding ourselves or fooling ourselves. So I found this really cool because I can remember in 2002, it was either 2002 or 2003, when I was working in a AmeriCorps program in New Orleans with a woman named Janice. And Janice worked at my school. And Janice went to this church that I also went to. And I can just remember exactly where I was when I saw her on her flip cell phone. And I saw that she'd set the background that said, God is love. And I had never heard that phrase. And it just stuck with me. You know, when you get that puzzle piece and you're like, that feels really, I don't know. And then I always thought she was really cool. So I was like, look at her, she's cool. And this phrase. But this lesson to me, that's what this brought back, because on in the explanation it said, for the first premise is that God gives you only happiness, which is the first sentence of our 3 to practice during the practice period. This could be false, of course, but in order to be false, it is necessary to define God as something he is not. Love cannot give evil, which is saying God is love. So where my mind went during the practice period, because it asks us to recognize the many forms our illusion has taken. Like, if we weren't thinking previously that our function is happiness, then what were we thinking it was? And what my mind went to was the kind of idea where I was proving myself all the time. Not all the time, but my function was to perform, to prove myself, to earn respect, friendship, love, and then to nurture those relationships so I don't lose them. And all that was my chase. That was I thought that's how I get to happiness, is I have the things. And I thought to have the things, I have to prove myself. So I never really put it together until more recently that I have within me. So if God is love and God gives me only happiness and God made me, then I am love. I am happiness. God made me. God as love can only make in his likeness. So I am already the love and happiness. And I've made life into a quest, which was unnecessary. And so that came to me very clear. And for whatever reason, my mind went to Malawi and the Peace Corps as being where I saw myself doing this, but I did it mostly my whole life, really. And then my other example of like what other function I gave myself is the taskmaster and the one who accomplishes the stuff, which is similar to my first. But for example, last night, Justine was exhausted. I decided to make homemade ravioli. That was like a real big project. And by the time I made that and alternatives for my husband and Justine, dinner took a while, and then cleanup took a longer, and then she was already tired. Like, she's sleeping now, but she had no nap yesterday. So she's running on fumes, and we've got extra cleaning than normal. And I have it in my mind that I have to finish cleaning everything. And it wasn't as possessive as it's been before, but it was pretty strong. Now she's kind of losing it, and I'm trying to like get through the last of the dishes. And in that time, then she starts crying. And I'm like, I had made it in my mind that, you know, my function is to finish at all cost. And then my husband was trying to be helpful. I kind of was like, you're not really helping. And he's like, then he started trying to get her to watch something. Anyway, I just let the whole thing become about finishing the dishes. And the love and the happiness and the harmony went out the window. It was like a second goal. And this is really waking me up because I know that pattern is healing. It's just healing on its own because I don't feel as crazy about finishing everything. So I know it's like it's had its time with me, but it's just to bring to my awareness because the lesson says we need great honesty today. And I'm like, okay, so where do I throw my happiness out the window? Because in those cases, I must have a different function. It must not be my function. So I must have made up another one. And then since there's only the two influences, whatever's influencing me that's not bringing me happiness, that is not God. God is not telling me I have to finish the dishes. It's a self-imposed goal, which is destroying the happiness of the moment. Now, it's not scarring Justine for life. It's not ruining my life, but it's still not necessary. And it's a wake-up call. And so I'm really excited about having this time to steep in the ideas and let them, because it's just, let's just say you don't know the speed limit somewhere. Like I got 3 or 4 tickets in 1 week when I moved to Washington, D.C. And how amazing that they went to my mother. Hey, Mom, if you're watching. They went to my mother's mailbox because I hadn't changed my license plate. So she gets 4 speeding tickets in a week for me. So I didn't know there was a school zone and they had cameras and they caught whatever. I didn't have to pay them all. That's another story. But let's say you don't know the speed limit, but once you know it, you can't not know it. So once you know your function, you can't not know when you're unhappy. You look at what is making me throw that out the window? What is the more important thing here? And definitely last night, you know what was happening? When I was the dish obsessive washer, I kept hearing the word pride. And we're not talking Lion King. We're talking ego. your pride, Angela, of thinking and deciding you have to finish these dishes before you would leave them. Because you know what's coming to me now? I bet if I left them because I was just in the moment and responding, who knows, my husband would have done them. And who cares? It would have been a victory that I stayed in my loving heart. So I'm grateful because what I know is I can kind of go back in my mind and see where the choice was and just not really pretend I made it, but affirm that it was the right choice. And then all is well. Nothing's lost. So thank you for listening as I held the phone with my hands, my arms out. Justine, we're rocking it. We're moving on. I love to peek with you. It's like the advent calendar, like what's next? Yeah, love created me like itself. That's what I came to in my own reflection. Oh my gosh. You're doing awesome. Bye.